In this video, under Overview 2, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go through the individual items that are over here, and they're called popover screens. And I'll demonstrate that right here. But before I do that, I want to show you that we're going to be using some of the screens that are in this listing. Okay, in this particular case, we're going to be using the current booking screen for the customer booking, and in this case, we're going to use the equipment listing, which is actually this screen right here. As far as adding equipment, or you can come over here and you can click on equipment to go back to a screen and then do a search for it in that particular way, or you can go to the list view, and the list view would give you the listing of all the equipment, and you can pick the item either directly or by doing a find. Now in the actual equipment listing, it says right at the top, equipment listing of availability. Do not add records here. Go to the equipment listing screen, and all the data that is going to show over here is for all the equipment. And it doesn't make any difference who it's actually for. This is the inventory for assets in the equipment area. Now, in some cases, as you'll see here, this is a hard item, like an item that would be used or rented. In this case, there's no serial number in this one, and this is actually a deposit. And down here you can see a late fee, and you can add these kind of things in there yourself. And what they would do is they would be easy to find because I put a number in front of them that indicates that they're not a piece of equipment, they're something else. In this case, I just put a test in there just so I was testing different things. In this case, it was lighting. And you would add the serial number in the actual equipment record once you've created it, and then it just displays it on this screen. If you click on the availability, you can edit in this screen. Say, for example, the man comes back in and he returned the item, and you show returned here. You would still have to either pay for it, or he would pay for it at that point, or you would create a billing in the billing screen for that particular thing. And then if you're doing payments, you would go to client payments, which is here, billing here, payments here. And in these two screens, you can accept it in this screen, so you don't have to go to the actual screen to either create the billing or to pay it. You could pay it right in here. But in this particular case, and I'm going to point out, say for example you put something in and you're selling an item. It's a product that you sell, or it's rented, one of the two, or it's one of these things. In this case, it's a status type. In this particular case, you're charging a late fee, and it's a status type. It doesn't have a duration or a serial number. It's a fee, like in other fees. In this particular case, you could put whatever that charge is, and over here you don't have to put anything. It would be just that particular cost. And in this is the status for that particular note, and this is a pay on return because it's now late. So when it comes in, you'll know that this particular item, by whatever serial number was that you're working on for an invoice, that item is going to have a late fee in. You could put that into your billing screen as an item to be paid, in this case a late fee, and then you would go ahead and then bill it out on the payment screen for client payments. Okay, let's actually go to the portal so we can see what it looks like. In this case, we're going to go over this one record and the rest of the screen, and then we're going to do a new video that will explain how to use the other popovers. Okay, in this case, when you create a new record by coming up here and clicking on Add Equipment, that would be for a new record. It'll go ahead and open a new record and blank the fields in here, and all this would be blank. This is where data has been added after the case. Now this is an asset, so this asset is actually going to stay in there. It's an asset by the serial number that you add from the item, and you can tell who made the item, in this case DeWalt. When you come in and you add the item for the first time, you're going to put the date of purchase in. If you change the today date and come in here and you want to see how many days it's been since this item was added to the inventory, it will change for whatever date it is, rated on the first day that it was purchased, and then how long it was after that. It'll also show you the months that it's been made available for service or usage. In this particular case, it's obvious that this item is 2 months old. Maybe you only keep 6 months or a year or something like that. This would tell you how long it's been since you actually purchased it based on the new date that you put in there. And that way it would be the today, and this might be 6 months old or a year if you change this date. Okay, where did we purchase it? In this case, I just put in Home Depot because it was easy to understand why I put it in there. Note that you see these underlined items. These are if you want to edit the list from the drop down, you could do that. In this case, the drop down has a few items in it. for example, it has camera. You may want to change that and put in the items, the types that you actually are using as far as selling or renting. Clicking anywhere will set it away. In this case, another one is equipment status. You can go ahead and go to that status field. The way you change a status is you go ahead and add a record, and then when you add it, it'll turn blank up here. You type it in, and once you click any place on the screen, it will add it into the alphabetic list, and then it will show up in the actual screen that we're working in. So I'm going to go back to the equipment ad services and go back to this screen. And in this screen, we put the standard equipment rental. In this case, it's going to be for a 24-hour day. And if there's many times in there, say like the guy had it for 10 days, this is the standard rental by the day. Unless you want to actually have something that's a large item and you want to do a rental by week or something like that, it's up to you as far as what you actually add in. But keep in mind, this is a standard rate table and standard piece of equipment, and this is how it should be charged. So when it comes up over on the list on the other side for billing and payments, $8 is its standard 24-hour day rate, and then you would bill for how many days that are out there. So you'd be putting in maybe 10 days at $8. So that would tell you what it was going to be rounding up to. The notes here is that this is considered a carryout item or one of these other things. You can always customer pickup, consumable item, and so forth. Maybe you're doing, this case it wouldn't do a quote. This is used on another portion of the list and another part of the application. Same with some of these other things. But this would be the standard thing as a client carryout. This is not a deliverable item. If you're going to be delivering this to somebody, then you would deliver to client site. Maybe it's a large item like a generator or something like that, then it would be delivered to site, and then it might be weekly, monthly, or whatever. Let's drop that down so we can see it. Monthly, daily, weekly, and year. In this particular case, you can change this status, but you would still have a rate by the date. So if it's going to be 30 days, if it's a week type of thing, you could put in there 4 weeks, for example. Okay. Over here, if you're using this and say somebody lost the handle to it and you had to buy a handle, this is equipment, service, supply, where did you buy it and how much did it cost and so forth, you'd put in here. That would add to the cost of overhead for this item. So that would be not a consumable, but it would be something that maybe in service that you had to put it in there. Comments are general things based on the actual usage. Maybe it was returned and this was missing. Okay, that would be something that would be a comment in here, so that could be purchased, so you'd have a replacement for it. Okay, down here we have equipment service plan. There are 2 types of service that you do. There's scheduled and unscheduled. When it's scheduled, there's actually a work order that comes up. Now this will be brought down automatically from here for every one of the work orders. It will automatically use the next available work order task number. And over here, this is the service, and you're going to schedule it. It needs to come in on a 30-day available basis. In this particular case, you could change this if you wanted to bring it in more frequently by adding a different sequence of dates here, because this is a one-time work order where this is the thing you're doing. And in this case, it's got to be from date to date. In this case, it comes in on 6/3. And it's a 30-day thing. And automatically, when you put the intervals in here, it's telling you the date that this is going to be due. And this is the start date. So you put a start date in there, and it'll tell you automatically by calculating this out 30 days when it's actually due. Scheduled service. And there's a list here, of course. You can go over and add to and modify at your heart content of actually what you want to do. The actual service description is a test and check. You can put anything you want in there. This is an open field to add exactly what you want to do in there. Now let's look at the next tab, work order. It automatically brings us over and adds the date that you started this work order. This is for work order task 1. And in this case, the employee screen, you add in different employees, and this is you can do by adding it over here. And you can see that in the drop down there's only 2 employees at this time. So if you add more, and of course you can go over and modify this to whatever you want in the employee screen. But it tells you what kind of tech he is or what kind of person it is that's actually doing the work. And in this particular case, he has a work rate for him of $12 an hour. This will be used in a calculation based on the amount of time. In this case, it wasn't a whole hour, it was 0.2 or about 10 minutes. It'll automatically calculate that value for you. And what did you do? You lubed the chuck and inspected the actual item for wear and tear. That would be like the air. And if you use any materials, then you come to this tab and it automatically put the date in. In this case, I'm going to use the service for drill chuck. I'm going to lube and oil it. There was a quantity of one at 50 cents, and so the sum for materials was 50 cents, and that was cleaned and lubed oil. Okay, so we pretty well covered everything in the equipment area and the equipment screen. You can go to the portals for these particular items individually by what they are as far as the equipment service, and there are reports, in this case, for the different things for service listing, and the other items that are in here for service. You would go ahead and use those screens to see those, or you can use the popovers that are added in some screens. Like this one has the equipment portal listing. So if I clicked here, I can see all the items. I can click on this, and what it'll do is it'll bring that particular item screen up. If you wanted to say, like you had 150 items and you want to find one, recall that you can use the find mode, and you can put anything in the different fields that you want to actually look for, like 3/8 electric drill, and maybe you want to put the serial number in. In this particular case, you could get all the electric tools if you wanted to show them on the screen in the inventory as far as portal list items. Okay, in order to go into the portal, you can click on it, it'll come back over here, and you can actually see that record that you're talking about. Okay, let's go back over to the booking screen, and that completes the assignment. The next one we do in the next video will be UDF and these billing screens and payment. We're going to do those in the next one. Okay, we'll see you in the next video.